All right, so get this. There's some really big news in the world of AI. And no, seriously, this isn't just like another update or something. It feels like a real game changer when it comes to coding. Remember all that excitement about AI making art and images? It felt like a big shift, right?
It really did.
Well, what's happening with AI and coding could be even bigger, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's really interesting is that we're seeing AI move beyond just working with text or images. Like, it's not just rearranging things, it's actually getting much better at the kind of logical thinking and problem solving you need for real coding.
Exactly. And at the center of all this is Google's experimental Gemini 2.5 Pro. Now, we've seen a lot of AI models come out saying they're the best, but this one, early testing and benchmarks suggest it might actually live up to the hype. It's apparently doing better than some of the big names out there. And for everyone listening, that's what we're diving into today. What makes Gemini 2.5 Pro so special? What makes it so different?
And if we zoom out a bit, it's not just about being number one on some list. It's about what this kind of AI could do, how it could speed up innovation, help developers create even more amazing things, and even let people who don't know much about coding bring their ideas to life.
And nothing shows that better than this one demo that's been getting a lot of attention. They say this AI programmed a full 3D Rubik's Cube simulation from scratch in one go. Now, for anyone who knows a little about AI and coding, that's a pretty difficult thing to do, even for the best AIs out there.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, why is a Rubik's Cube so hard for AI? It's not just the graphics, it's the logic behind it. Making the cube turn the right way, tracking the colors of each little square, maybe even solving the cube itself. It really tests whether an AI can take an idea and turn it into working code without messing up a bunch of times along the way.
Okay, let's get into the numbers. When we look at the performance tests, Gemini 2.5 Pro seems to have jumped right to the top spot on the LLM arena. For those who don't know, that's a ranking based on what actual people prefer in blind tests. So real people are saying they like what this AI does better than others.
Right, and that's important because benchmarks give you hard data. But when real people choose something in a blind test, it means the AI is making something that's actually useful and works well in the real world. The fact that it's at the top of these rankings means it's not just good in theory, it's delivering real results.
And it's not just by a little bit. It's doing better than some big names, like Grok 1.5, all those different GPT-4 versions, and Claude 3. If you look at certain tests, the difference is even bigger. Take the Humanities Last Exam Report, say Gemini 2.5 Pro got an 18.8% score, and it didn't even use any external tools. The next best was only 14%. It's a big difference.
The Humanities Last Exam, yeah, it's designed to test a lot of different things, like general knowledge and how well the AI can think things through. It often needs to understand subtle things and put together information from different places. So a big lead there means it's pretty good at grasping those complex ideas.
Then there's GPT-QA, a test focused on scientific knowledge. Gemini 2.5 Pro got 84% accuracy there, while the previous top score was 79%. In AM 2025, it's a bit ahead, 86.7% to 86.5%. Get this, in AM 2024, it's a full 5 percentage points higher than GPT 3.5 Turbo. It's a pretty big jump.
The key here is that each of these benchmarks tests different parts of the AI. General knowledge, logic, scientific understanding. Doing well on all of them means it's a really versatile and powerful model.
Now, one thing they keep saying about Gemini 2.5 Pro is that it's a reasoning model. They say it thinks about and tries out different answers before giving you the final one. So what does that mean in practice?
So imagine this. Instead of spitting out the first answer it comes up with, the AI tries a bunch of different things internally. Like it's running its own experiments in its head before it gives you the final code. This is really useful for tasks that require careful thinking, like coding, solving logic puzzles, doing math, even answering those yes or no questions where it has to be really sure. Imagine a human coder trying different algorithms before picking the best one. Gemini 2.5 Pro seems to be doing that internally, checking different approaches before giving you the code.
Okay, I get it. So it's not just guessing, it's actually working through different options. And this helps it get to better, more reliable answers, especially for those tougher tasks.
Exactly. By trying things out and thinking about different possibilities, the AI can spot its own mistakes, fix its logic, and ultimately give you a more trustworthy answer. This is a big step up from models that just recognize patterns and predict the next word. This is more like real thinking.
Another big talking point about Gemini 2.5 Pro is its massive context window. Reportedly, it can handle up to 1 million tokens. For those who aren't super techie, what exactly is a context window? And why is 1 million tokens a big deal?
So the conscious window is basically how much information the AI can hold in its mind at once while it's working. It's kind of like RAM in a computer. A bigger context window means the AI can consider a lot more information when it's answering a question or writing code.
So 1 million tokens. Can you give us an analogy to help us understand how much that is?
Imagine giving the AI a whole library full of books, and it can remember everything in all those books while it answers your questions or writes code. That's how much information we're talking about.
Wow, it's a lot.
Yeah. Practically, it means it can work with huge documents, entire code bases for software, or very long conversations. Think what that means for your work. Instead of just seeing bits and pieces, the AI can now understand your whole project. It can give you smarter suggestions for improving your code and catch those tricky bugs that hide across multiple files.
That makes sense. So instead of feeding it code bit by bit, we can give it the whole picture.
Right.
That would definitely make it better at things like cleaning up or debugging large applications.
Exactly. And Google has said they've really focused on coding performance with Gemini 2.5 Pro. They say it's a huge leap from version 2.0. They're talking about its ability to create visually impressive web apps, those AI-powered agents that can do things in software, and its ability to do really complex code editing and transformations.
Now, for the really interesting part, those practical demonstrations we talked about.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Rubik's Cube test. We know other top AIs had trouble with this. Can you tell us what happened?
The challenge was to have these AI models, Claude, Grok, ChatGPT, and another one called DeepSeek, create a working 3D Rubik's Cube that you could interact with on a web page. And the prompt they used, they had ChatGPT create and refine it so it would give each AI the best chance of success.
So it was a fair test with a good prompt. What happened with these other AIs? It's interesting that these powerful models couldn't do it. What do you think was so hard about the Rubik's Cube for them?
Well, none of them could make a fully working app on the first try. The code they wrote often had mistakes, the interactive parts didn't work, or the 3D graphics were messed up. Even when they tried to guide them and ask for fixes, they couldn't get a working Rubik's Cube.
That's surprising, considering how good these AIs are at other things.
It is.
So what happened when Gemini 2.5 Pro was given the same challenge?
Now this is where it gets exciting. Google's platform doesn't have a built-in way to run the code right there and see it, but they took the code the AI wrote and ran it separately, and it worked. They could shuffle the cube, turn the sides, and even solve it. And most importantly, the colors of the squares stayed correct the whole time. This isn't just about solving a puzzle. It means AI can now do complex, multi-step logical tasks from idea to working code in one shot. This could speed up development so much.
And it wasn't just a normal 3x3 cube.
Right.
They tried something much harder, too.
Yeah, they had it make a 9x9 Rubik's Cube, and it worked. That means it really understands the logic behind it, not just how to work with a standard cube.
So to be clear, Gemini 2.5 Pro is the only AI that's been able to do this one-shot prompting and make a working Rubik's Cube as of early April 2025. That's a huge accomplishment.
Totally. It shows how good it is at taking a complex idea and turning it into code that works perfectly on the first try. This first-shot success is a big deal because it shows a deeper understanding.
Let's move on to another test, the snake game, another classic coding challenge. What was the prompt they used for this one?
Just like with the Rubik's Cube, they used a very specific prompt to tell the AI to create the snake game. And again, they worked with ChatGPT to make sure the prompt was clear and effective.
Okay, so how did Gemini 2.5 Pro do? How long did it take?
It took about 1 minute and 10 seconds, and the snake game it made was fully playable. You know, the basic mechanics were there, the game over screen when you hit something, and even some cool visual extras. For example, if you picked up a certain item, the controls would reverse, which made it trickier.
Reverse controls, huh?
Yeah.
That's a neat twist.
Yeah.
It's more than just the basics. So another success on the first try.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It made a cool working snake game right off the bat. This is a big difference from what other AI models could do before. They usually made really basic versions, or the code was so messy it needed a lot of fixing.
It does seem like this first-shot success is a trend. Let's talk about some of the other things they showed it could do. They had it recreate the Twitter website. What was the goal there?
They wanted it to make a visual copy of the Twitter website, which is called X now, as a single HTML file. The main idea wasn't to make it fully interactive with working buttons and stuff, but just to get the look right, like for inspiration or quick prototyping.
And how did that turn out?
In about a minute, Gemini 2.5 Pro created an HTML file that looked a lot like the Twitter interface. You know, it had the layout, spaces for posts, and the overall design. The buttons didn't actually work, but it captured the look and feel really well in a very short time.
That's pretty impressive for something done in about a minute. It really shows how quickly it can grasp a visual concept and turn it into code. What about that interactive molecular visualizer? That sounds a bit more complicated.
Yeah, that was definitely more involved. The prompt asked for a single HTML file that would create a system where you could visualize different molecules on the web and interact with them. It took a little longer, about 2 minutes.
So in those 2 minutes, what kind of features did it manage to pack in?
Well, the visualizer it made was pretty advanced. It showed the name of the molecule, its chemical formula, and its molar mass. You could change things like the temperature, how the bonds looked, how fast it rotated, and the size of the atoms. There were options to show the symbols of the atoms, switch to a wireframe view, and even change the background color. And if you clicked on a specific atom in the molecule, it would tell you things like its atomic number and electronegativity.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful tool to create in 2 minutes from a single prompt.
Did they tell it which specific molecules to use, or did it choose on its own?
It actually chose common molecules itself without being told which ones to use. So it's not just following instructions, it's actually understanding what would be useful in a tool like this.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
You keep mentioning these examples were all done on the first try. Why is that so important? Because being able to get it right the first time means the AI really understands what you're asking and is more likely to do well with even more complex tasks. A lot of other AI models would struggle with the initial prompt. You'd have to go back and forth, fixing errors and refining the output. But Gemini 2.5 Pro seems to get it right away, which suggests it's much more reliable and capable of turning your ideas into working code.
Okay, let's sum this up. Based on what we've seen, what are the really big takeaways about Gemini 2.5 Pro? What makes it stand out?
We're looking at an AI that can code complex interactive simulations like the 3D Rubik's Cube, make working games like Snake, quickly create web interfaces, and even build educational tools, all on the first try, with very little human intervention.
Yeah, going back to what we said at the beginning, this really does feel like a big shift, a real step forward.
Definitely.
And that first shot success, getting it right on the first try, that seems to be the key difference here. It shows that it's way better at understanding and reasoning compared to other leading AI models.
Absolutely. It means we're entering a new era where AI can translate high-level instructions into working code right away, without needing a ton of debugging and tweaking. It's a game changer for how we develop software.
So for everyone listening, think about this. If an AI can already do this with code, what could that mean for your work, your field, your interest? Could it help you develop things faster, come up with totally new ideas, and test things out quicker than ever before?
This tech is still young, but what Gemini 2.5 Pro can do gives us a glimpse of a future where AI could be a huge part of creating software and so much more. It makes you wonder, what could we all create and achieve with tools like this?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. AI is moving fast, and Gemini 2.5 Pro seems like a big step in that direction. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.